No, I'm annoyed because people haven't been able to hear me. Can can you hear me now? Okay, right. So I've just found out for the last hour, no one's been able to hear anything I've been saying, which is fantastic. Um, okay, so to explain what I'm doing, as none of this has been made clear previously, apparently, I am working on building out the lobby of the theatre for the first level of my game. Um, this here is the lobby. I'm currently in a wireframe view so that I can easily add in these stairs here. These cubes that I've added, or cuboids, are not the final stairs I'm going to use. They're there purely to show the the position of where the stairs need to be, just so I can sort of block it out before I work on the actual geometry. So I'm going to sort of start again, since it seems that all of the previous hour, everything I've said and done has not been heard. So I'm going to run through this really quick. Um, I'm going to switch back to garage shading so we can see it here. Uh, this is the theatre in which the first playable level takes place. We've got an external facade here, which has a front and a side. There's no back or left-hand side, simply because the player won't be able to access those areas, so there's no point trying to fill our level with unnecessary geometry that's going to slow down play and take a long time to build in unnecessarily. Um, this here is a building from Kitbash 3D's Art Deco set. I've done a little bit of editing of it so that um, we can fit our theatre inside. I've basically deleted the back wall and then copied it and turned it round and deleted some other sides, so it sort of became a longer building. Um, I've also got down here from a different set, Kitbash 3D's theatre from the um, storefront kit. They're both really high quality assets. Uh, Kitbash 3D, fantastic resource for anyone who can afford it. Um, high quality, game ready, uh, cinema, film industry level quality assets. Uh, whatever you need, they're constantly expanding their library. They just recently launched some software as well called Cargo, which is great. However, price can be a bit of a stumbling block for some people. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so the actual main auditorium of the theatre you won't see here. That is in Unreal. I've got that already set ready to go in the game. There's no point bringing it into Cinema 4D because it was just going to slow down performance. All I really needed was the positions of all of the doors, which is why I have those here. If I select this, you see these glowing blue objects. These are the exits that came that I exported from Unreal. And so we've got our main entrance to the auditorium, the entrance to the upper circle. We've got a couple of fire exits on the side. I added those in myself because there was sort of like a gap in the upper circle that needed filling, and I needed to put in extra exits to make some certain story elements of the game work. Um, this three doorway sort of arch isn't ideal, but that's all that was with the asset pack. So as part of building this out, I'm going to rebuild this as a single doorway in the middle, and we're going to sort of build in the wall here and add some decoration so it all matches up correctly. What we've got here is three doors that will exit out onto the stage, and we've got a hallway running behind, and I'm going to add an extra room here, which is going to be sort of like a dressing room for the actors, and we're going to have a chase scene in the game that sort of goes from the stage and out through that dressing room, around the side and back onto the stage, and then over some sort of scenery and set dressings and things. But right now, the main thing we need to do is actually create the lobby and the hallways, because at the moment they're just grey boxes. So I'm gonna hide all of the stuff that we're not working on. So that's those there, and this here. Okay, and I'm gonna set this to lines so that we can see inside. Okay, right. Also, just quickly, uh, I started on these stairs here. In my head, they looked fantastic, and then when they were finished, they looked absolutely awful. So I will be deleting those and coming up with a different idea later on. If I just switch back to this view. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have sort of a set of stairs going up about halfway up to this height, across the middle of the lobby, and then I'll have something similar to this, but just not quite as imposing as this. It'll be a bit wider and not as tall, and we're going to have a set of stairs around here coming up to here, and underneath the stairs on this side there'll be a cloakroom, and we'll have a set of stairs coming around to this hallway on this side, and under there will be sort of a concession stand, where people can buy drinks and candy and the like. And then from each of these hallways there'll be another stairs coming up to a big balcony here where the people can get to the upper circle, and on the roof we're going to be hanging a big giant chandelier, so that it all looks like a nice art deco theatre. And just to bring back in the uh, concept art that I showed earlier, because obviously people wouldn't have heard what the explanation for that was. This is the kind of aesthetic we're going for. Now, the actual shape and layout is completely different. This is all AI generated. I'm afraid I'm not that great an artist. But I basically entered the kind of thing I wanted to see, and this got spewed out, and that in turn gives me more ideas. So this is the kind of color scheme we're going to go for, and some of the smaller architectural elements might take from this, but obviously the actual overall layout is going to be completely different. Okay, so let's get back to our stairway, which I've decided was the nice, easy cop-out that I could do this evening, but it's already turning out to be harder than I thought. So let's come back over here. Okay, so this is our stairway, very basic at the moment. And we're going to need to add some geometry in here to make this work. So let's go to our create tools, and to get our line cut, we're going to need to select the actual object, and I'm going to make sure that I've got visible only unselected, and I'm just going to go like this. And if I go like that. Yep, there's now a vertices added in there where we can start editing this. So I'm going to need to do two of those for each step. So we've got one point that can come up to the corner and one point that can stay, well, in also the corner, but the inverted corner rather than the top one. Okay, so that goes there, and move this across like this, and then we start getting our step. Now, just like with what you may have seen me doing, although apparently didn't hear me doing, earlier on when we were tidying up the exterior of the lobby. I'm going to do this very roughly to begin with so we can get the basic shape, and then I'm going to come back and make sure everything's at a crisp right angle. And then after I've got all of everything lined up correctly, I'm then going to bevel the corners, which if you're not unfamiliar with the term, basically means round them out because um, as nice as it is to see right angles, that's not realistic. Right angles don't really exist in real life. Anything you think is a right angle, if you get close enough, you'll see that it's actually beveled slightly. Even the edge of the knife, if you zoom in close enough, it's slightly curved. So anyway, let's get on with this. Let's stop dilly-dallying, and we are going to make these stairs. So that's a line there, and here, and there, and here. Okay, right, so I'm going to apologies for I'm repeating myself. I've been informed that I had some audio problems earlier, so I don't believe most of what I've said was heard. You may notice that my voice is sounding a bit different than it does in my previous videos. This is my first ever live stream. And like most people, I can't stand the sound of my own voice when I hear it recorded. And so when editing my own videos, I have been editing my voice, so it wasn't quite so grating on me. Um, but I don't have the technology to do that in real time, so this is me, this is my real voice. And I apologize if it drives you as mad as it drives me. So this is hopefully, now that I've got the audio issue sorted, going to be something that I can do on a regular basis moving forward. I'm planning to do a live stream like this every other Friday, so once every 2 weeks, just to not only show you the progress, but also show you the process, in case that's something you might be interested in, and also sort of give you a clearer idea of how things are going, because it's very hard to show all the work that goes into the development of the game in just a very short 2-minute video. Um, I'm also planning on doing a slightly different type of content as well. I'm going to be putting out sort of video essays every Wednesday, completely unrelated to game development, or most of the time. They'll be on completely random topics, to be honest. Um, but I will still be continuing with working on the game and uploading game development logs on a Sunday. So yeah, channel should be growing quite a lot over the next few weeks. So yeah, keep an eye out on Wednesday evenings. If all goes to plan, I'll be uploading my video essays on in a show that I'm calling Opinions Nobody Asked For. Simply because I think what the internet is really lacking is the unsolicited opinions of cisgendered heterosexual white males. You just don't come across that kind of thing on the internet. Um, and Also, every Friday these uploads, not every Friday, every other Friday, and every Sunday I'll be uploading a devlog. So yeah, so quite a leap forward with with the channel. Hopefully, um, I've seen a lot of traffic on the channel recently, and um, you know, I was amazed to see actual subscribers that weren't members of my family pitying me, although they're still in double digits. Not anymore. We're not giving Mr. Beast or PewDiePie a run for their money just yet, but uh, we'll be uh, we'll be putting out more content soon. Okay, so back to this. Now's the part where we have to tidy this up, and things are going to get a little bit tedious because we have to do this a little bit at a time. So let's select these, and we're going to use our weld tool to turn that into a single point. Lovely. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Wonderful. Okay, so if anyone's watching this who knows what they're doing more than me, because honestly, even though I've been doing this for 2 decades, I still haven't the faintest idea what I'm doing most of the time. They're probably going to come and tell me that there is some really simple, easy way to do what I'm doing now with a single click of the button, but uh, I don't know how to do it without messing up all the rest of the geometry. So I have to do each little corner one at a time. Oh, I did a good job here. This is already a single point by the looks of it. But just in case there's two there that are so small I can't see the difference, I'm gonna click on weld anyway. Okay. Now that's interesting. There is no crossbar there between them, so I'm gonna have to bridge these later as well. Okay, let's keep going. Now, how's that happened? Those intersected that, so that should have created a point there, but it hasn't. Okay, that should be easily fixed. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we need to keep our geometry tidy simply because that's how we end up with texture errors if we start having overlapping polygons. If you'll see, I mean, you may have noticed it in the video I uploaded the other day. When I was testing that I had the position of all of these exits correctly, I imported like the most basic version of this lobby into Unreal, and the exit doors that were part of this project obviously were appearing in the exact same position as the exit doors that were already part of the Unreal project, and they were just flickering like mad. And that's what happens when you have overlapping geometry. And so that's why we need to take our time and really make sure that all of the points are where they need to be, all of the planes are where they need to be. We don't have overlapping surfaces. And so that's why, unfortunately, the modeling side of things, it takes a lot longer uh, than anything else. Um, well, I say that I haven't even started trying to program it yet. So uh, the basic bits of programming I've tried my hand at went fairly quickly, but that was all just following tutorials. So uh, when I'm on my own and trying to make something original, then we'll see if that goes as quick as the tutorials did. But this part I've always found it very rewarding and doing this work, but it is very, very painstaking and can be very tedious at times. But when you hit that render button and you see something that you like come out the other side, there's very few greater feelings. Oops, I've moved that where I don't want it. Okay, and I've just fallen into the trap of perspective. So looking at it like here, it looked in completely the wrong place, and so I've moved it up, and now when you come around here, I've just moved it away from where it needed to be. Actually, rather than moving it back and make falling the same mistake again, I'm just going to hit undo. There we go. Right, that's if that is in the wrong place, we'll shift it when we move change perspective. Right now, I need to concentrate on making sure that all of these points are tidied up. Now, I'm not sure what I did that fixed the audio, but I can now hear myself coming through my own headset, which is kind of torture considering the whole reason I was disguising my voice on the edited videos was because I didn't like the sound of my voice, and now all I can hear is my own voice. This is starting to feel like the longest staircase in the world. And the end still isn't in sight. And this is only one side of it. I've got to go back down and do the other side in a minute. And now you can see why all of my videos showing my workflow are all sped up. Okay, right, so we finally reached the top of our stairs. And now we've got to go over to the other side and weld all the points going back down on this side. And then we're going to bridge these points across the top, and then we'll bevel all of the corners. And at the rate we're going, I think that we'll call it a night after that. But having created one staircase is, oh, I'm happy with that. Progress is progress, regardless of how slow it might be. So I'm not sure where you might be watching from. I know that at least one of my subscribers is from overseas. So I don't know what time it might be where you are, but here it's 20 past 11 in the evening on Friday night. So anybody got any plans for the weekend they want to share? That sounds like a good plan, George. So, um, this program I'm using is called Cinema 4D. I was very lucky in my late teens. I was able to get a free copy of this with a magazine, not the version I'm using now. It was a much earlier edition. Um, and I've sort of been using it ever since, which is why I'm using it now rather than what has become sort of the favorite amongst most people, which is Blender. If you're just starting out in learning 3D, I highly recommend that you get Blender rather than Cinema 4D. I never heard of Blender until I had already been using Cinema 4D for about 15 years. And at the time, I just sort of dismissed Blender as well. It's a free, cheap alternative. It's no way it's going to be as good. But the last couple of years, I've really started paying attention to Blender, and it seems like there's very little it can't do these days. All of the features that I know Cinema 4D has, I know they can be done in Blender too. Um, from what I hear, Cinema 4D is slightly easier to use in terms of sort of After Effects and really complicated um, uh, volumetric things and lighting and stuff like that. I mean, Blender can still do it all, but Cinema 4D is slightly easier. But when it comes to actually modeling objects, I've been told the workflow in Blender is so much simpler, and it's free. So I mean, I'm stuck in my ways now, using using Cinema 4D. But if you're just starting out, then yeah, get Blender instead. But both have very easy workflow when it comes to taking what you've made and then moving it into Unreal. Uh, it's simply a case of saving it as an FBX or any other object that file format that Unreal can use. I think FBX is the preferred format for most people. That's certainly what I've been using. And a lot of the materials you do need to rebuild in Unreal though. I think, I mean, I've always liked the way that Cinema 4D materials work, but they don't seem to work very well with a lot of other programs. The way they code them, code them probably isn't the right word, but yeah, the node material system was very scary to me when I first started using Unreal, but I've sort of, I mean, it's still not easy for me to use. I'm still learning, but I see now like the huge potential for um, effects. You can do so much more complicated things with a material in Unreal than you can in Cinema 4D. In Cinema 4D, it's all about sort of layering things in the right way, whereas uh, in Unreal you can. Sorry, I'm using the wrong tool. I need to use the bridge tool. In Unreal, you can very easily do very complicated things with your materials. Okay, I'm gonna undo that. It looks like we've still got some wonky geometry here. Let's weld those together. Okay, right, so I am going to switch back to a different viewpoint and I'm going to turn down the transparency. We were just talking about materials, but so this is the material editor in Cinema 4D. This material I've made has no channels except transparency simply because I needed it to something to be seen through so that I could see through the front of the building and see the inside, because when I tried to move the camera inside the building, the field of view was too limited. I'm now going to apply this to all of the lobby and the hall so that I can see what I'm doing with this stairs from the outside. But I am also going to lower the increase the opacity or lower the transparency so that it's a bit clearer where the corners are. Okay, right. So now that I've done that, I can use the bridge tool, which I was trying to do before. Okay, and now I have put in new polygons here to start building out our stairs. And they're all a bit wonky, but they are functional stairs to, oh, here we go. Let's see, we've got, we can start getting rid of these now. Okay, right, what was going wrong there? Okay, didn't look like it was letting me complete that polygon when I was trying to fill it in, but I can't see why now. So I'm just going to try again now that I can see the corners a bit better and see if it works. Yeah, that seems to be working fine. It was just me pointing my mouse in the wrong place. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, that's not what we want to do. We're building stairs, not a happy fun slide. Okay, let's delete out all of these cubes now because they're just getting in the way, and we've blocked out where the stairs are. We don't need these. Okay. Okay, hopefully we're getting near the bottom of these stairs soon. There we go, there's our figure that we put in for scale. Okay. Okay, so we're starting to finally begin to get our stairs in place. So what we need to do next is we need to make sure that they're all uniform, not at any odd angles, and then we're going to sort of round out the lips of each of these. So we're going to jump back into our side view, and we can see these are all a bit all over the place. So nice easy way of sorting these out is if we select both these, we can see they're at 0.24 centimeters on the z-axis, and all I need to do is just set that to 0, hit enter, and now it's straight. And then I do it on there, and I can see that it's 0.198 on the y-axis, hit 0, and it becomes straight. So I'm just going to do that all the way up, alternating between the z-axis and the y-axis. Oh, got that one perfect. Okay, nothing on the Z, that's perfect already. Okay, so what I'm looking for, these are basically, this is, when you select one or more points, this is telling you the scale of them on each axis. So the Z-axis is this from on our screen left to right. If we were looking from a different view, it would be different direction, but the way it's set up at the moment, it's left and right. And what it's saying is these 2 points are 0.156 centimeters wide in this direction, and I want them to be completely parallel, like this. So if I switch that to 0, then that means that this one is directly above that, and there is no difference in their position on the z-axis. They're still sort of just under 25 centimeters apart on the y-axis, which is right. That's what I wanted it to be, because that's roughly the height of a step. So now we go like that, and perfect on the y-axis, perfect on the z-axis, perfect on the y-axis, and something really wrong has happened here. So let's just fix this one first, 0 centimeters. And then let's try and figure out what on earth happened here. I could select that, set them to 0, but I don't know if that's going to, actually no I do, because my concern was I was going to select something from this staircase over here, but because they're at their different heights and at different angles, it's not actually going to affect anything over there. So let's switch that to 0 and 0 on both axes, and that should come together. Although actually that's probably happened because they weren't welded properly, and now I won't be able to see where that needs welding. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to come back into our perspective view, and then I'm going to zoom in and take another look. Okay, so that welded fine, it would appear. Create tools, weld. I'm just welding it again, even though it looks like it is welded, simply because sometimes you can have 2 points that are not occupying the same space, but they're so close that you can't tell that they're not occupying the same space. And if you just click the weld tool on them, even if you can't see it, they will come together. Okay, so if I then go back into here and zoom back, yeah, it still looks the same. I don't know what went wrong, but we'll just zero those out. Okay, now that's up high, so let's set that back to 0. Okay, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, and slowly but surely our staircase is coming together. And again, I'm going to apologize if I'm repeating myself. I'm not sure if this was something I said before. I fixed the audio issue, or whether it was something I've said since. But when we're done making the steps straight, we're then going to go and round out the corners, because that's what is realistic. There's no such thing as a right angle in real life. If you find any object that you think might have a right angle on it, if you look close enough, you will find that that angle is curved. Even if it's at the micro scale, there is a curve there. So we certainly don't have sharp angles on our stairs. They're usually rounded out by to about 3 to 5 centimeter radius. So we're going to do that once we've got these straight, and these really went wrong wonky near the top, didn't they? Okay. Right. So now it is time. Oh, no, I missed one. There we go. Okay. Now, luckily, this one can be done a lot quicker. We're gonna go uncheck that, and we're going to select all of the top edges of each of the stairs. Oops. Okay. And now we're going to go to our mesh tools, and we're going to go to this one here, bevel, and I want an offset of, let's say, 5 centimeters and a subdivision of 5. And when we come in, you see we get these nice curves, except this is not working the way it's meant to at all. I was hoping that they would all look like this, but some of them have got these weird gaps in them. So let's try and figure out what's caused that. If I come into the space here and then take off the material, it'll be a bit more solid. So what does that look like? Is that a gap or is it just bad geometry? Yeah, these are gaps. Okay. So it's possible that the edges weren't welded together properly. So I'm going to undo this. Okay. And we're going to have to go through each of those and make sure all of the corners are welded properly. But it's getting pretty late, and I'm not going to make you sit through me going through that staircase anymore. So I've got about 15 minutes left before I was planning on finishing. So let's do something a bit less tedious. We are going to add a ROM, and this is something we can do really easily. On this side here, you've got a gap. That's where one of the doors is. And so I've had to cut out a space for that door. So I can very easily just go to the polygon tool here and oops, I'm going to turn it on, only select visible elements, so I can select that without worrying about accidentally getting the floor or the wall on the other side, and hit delete. And now there is a hole here, exactly the same size as a door. And when I go back into Unreal, I can just drag and drop one of the door assets that's already in the level. And I can take this here and I can go to extrude, and what that is going to do, if I add another 0 here and hit enter, that has projected that outwards, but it's actually gone in the wrong way. And I'll explain this. What's supposed to happen, what would normally happen, if I put a minus in there, is it would go out this way. But I have reversed the normals, which basically means I've told Cinema 4D that all of the polygons of this object need to be inside out. And the reason for that is to save on memory. Unreal Engine will only apply materials on one side of an object. So if I have the normals of this object the way they would be by default, when I moved the lobby and the hallways into Unreal Engine and applied the materials, it would have all of the wallpaper and the floors on the outside, and when you were inside, it would be completely invisible. You'd be able to see through it. If ever you played a game where you've glitched through the floor and then you look up, you can still see all of the buildings as if the floor wasn't there. Um, and that's the reason why you're on the wrong side of where the material is being projected onto, so it's just not rendered. Um, so in Cinema 4D, when you apply a material to an object, it's visible from both sides. But that's not the case in Unreal. So I've had to tell Cinema 4D that the inside is, that this is inside out basically. This isn't an object we're viewing from the outside. This is an interior space. So we need all of the materials applied to this side, not the outside, which in this program doesn't make any difference. But as I said, once we import it into Unreal, that's going to make all the difference in the world. Anyway, so I'm going to undo that because I've actually messed it up a little bit. I need to select this bit here because this line across here is the height of the door, but rooms go obviously a bit higher than the door frame. And what I'm doing is I am extending this out so that we can create the dressing room that I referred to earlier. So now I've got all of this here selected. I'm going to use that tool that I was using just now, and now I've put a minus in the in this value here. So this is the distance by which we're going to extend it. So 250 centimeters, that's 2.5 meters. I actually want it to be a bit bigger than that, so I'm going to put it to 500 centimeters. That's 5 meters. That's quite a wide room. And what have I just done? Okay, that's randomly just switched to a completely different selection. And now I have no idea what just happened there. I'm going to click undo just in case it's done something I'm not seeing that I don't want it to do. I'm going to switch to the polygon tool again. I'm going to select these because these seem to have become unselected somehow. And let's try that again. I have absolutely no idea what happened just then, and it's just further proof, as I've mentioned several times, that although I've been doing this for 2 decades, I still haven't the faintest idea what I'm doing most of the time. Okay, so let's try this again. We're going to extrude, hit enter, and that should extrude it by 5 meters. Yes, and there we go. So now let's move this outwards, uh, and we've got space for our dressing room, but it's not perfect because what it's done is it's created this weird tunnel instead of a doorway, and it's taken out these in what should be interior walls. It's just moved them along rather than separating it out into a new room. So that's not Cinema 4D breaking, that's just how it works. But I'm explaining we need to do a bit more work. So what I'm going to do here, I am going to still use my polygon tool. I'm going to go to live selection rather than rectangle selection, and I'm going to make sure I've got only select visible elements on again, and I'm going to select these interior walls here for this sort of tunnel that it's made and delete those. Okay, so now in here we've got this space like this. Now we don't want a door on this side because I'm not making any exterior details on this side of the building. So we don't want our player to be able to go out there and see an empty space. So we need to use the bridge tool, which is what I was trying to use on those stairs and have obviously messed up at some point, but I'll go back to that later. And we're just going to fill in these gaps. So now we have a floor here and no door there, but we need to rebuild our corridor. So let's come over here, and once again we're going to use the exact same tool that we just used to build up this wall again. So we're going to start here like that. There you go, that's got that corner selected. And if we come over here, we just go like that, and then that puts that wall back in. We need to fill in the gap along the top as well. There we go. And then like this, and then we've got the space above the door. And there too. And then finally, we just need to do there and here. Okay, so now we've got a corridor here behind the stage and a big long dressing room. I think simply for gameplay purposes, I am going to add another door in over here so that the character we're chasing can run through this door from the stage straight into the dressing room and then be chased along here and then come out the other side and then come back in through one of these doors. But that's something I'm going to leave for another day. I think we've made quite a bit. Well, we've not made a lot of progress, but the progress we have made has been solid, and so I will leave it there for tonight, and I will come back to this tomorrow. Won't be live streamed, but I can show you the progress I make tomorrow in my weekly upload on Sunday, and hopefully have a bit more to show you then. Thank you very much for your time and for joining me this evening. Apologies if you came and left again because of the sound issues. Obviously, if you did that, you won't be hearing this message, so I'm just talking nonsense right now. But thank you very much for your time, and I will speak to you again